Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia McKenna and this is Africa. And today is the 31st of December 2020. That means we are hours away to getting into 2021. And I thought that we could look at everything that happened this year in Africa and just take a look at what really went on. And I promise it won't be that bad. Okay, I can't keep that promise. Anyway, let's just get into it. Now, the year 2020 didn't start off way too bad. In fact, I had a resolution list that could reach my feet. Then this happened.
On locusts in the country, the number of counties affected by desert locusts has risen from 3 to 17 in the last 3 months, with fears that the number could rise in the coming days.
Locusts! It's a plague! Remember when we thought this would be the worst thing that happens in 2020? Ah, good times. Anyway, the locusts weren't in Kenya alone.
Here are some of the countries that are most affected by those locusts. Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya are the worst affected, and Uganda is bracing for an invasion too. Authorities have advised citizens to stock up on food as the insects approach the border with Kenya.
But let's be honest, these insects are destructive.
They eat and destroy everything on their way. One swarm measured 60 kilometers long and 40 kilometers wide. Hundreds of thousands of acres of crops destroyed. People fight back with whatever means they have.
It's the worst that we've seen in Ethiopia, in Somalia in 25 years, and the worst that we've seen in Kenya in over 70 years.
The fear is that the locust numbers could increase 500 times in the next few months.
Really? I didn't know that. So what happened to the locusts?
A new endless swarm of desert locusts threatened the country, but this time they have gone as far as the coast. The winds from Somalia are helping them to deploy immediately inland, where they find food to reproduce.
I know you are thinking, why don't they just eat the locusts? Well,
reports indicate that some locals have been feasting on the locusts, terming it as good delicacy, but are now, however, being advised to stop as the locusts could be having traces of chemicals from previous sprays.
Now to the news that shook the world, the coronavirus.
As people everywhere celebrate the start of a new decade, the World Health Organization is told that a handful of people in the city of Wuhan in China had pneumonia, with no other clear causes or origin. But there's one common theme that connects the patients: Hunan Seafood Wholesale Market. Many of these first cases are linked to workers at the market selling live fish, birds and other animals. As a precaution, the market is shut on January the 1st. Nearly a week later, on January the 7th, Chinese authorities say they've identified the cause of the pneumonia, a new virus in the wider coronavirus group, which includes the common cold and SARS. The new virus is temporarily named 2019 nCoV, but becomes popularly known as the coronavirus.
And thus the coronavirus was born, and we had to change a lot of things, like for social distance, go back, back. Okay, there, stay there, stay there. And that's not the only thing that has changed. Now we have to wear this. I know you can't tell it, but I'm smiling.
Experts and African leaders have expressed concern that should the virus spread to the continent, it could wreak havoc among the least developed countries with weaker health systems. So the WHO has rushed to prepare African health systems, many of which are overburdened or just simply lack the diagnostic tests.
Morocco on Friday announced strict border restrictions in response to the coronavirus outbreak. Measures have also been put in place to confine citizens to prevent the spread of the virus.
Due to the pandemic, Morocco stands to lose an estimated 10 million tourists this year. So far, tourist centre Marrakesh has been the hardest hit.
And when the virus was detected, for most African countries, we went on lockdown. And then the conversation changed to whether police brutality is actually more harmful than the coronavirus itself.
Security services have killed 18 people in the country in a bid to enforce coronavirus restrictions. And South Africans are increasingly frustrated by an alcohol ban that is accompanying the lockdown. Have the authorities gone too far? Our reporters have been looking into bubbling tensions over that decision.
I will never forget this because I remember being more afraid of the police than the virus itself. And you have to look at it this way. The US go on lockdown and they have no toilet paper. We go on lockdown and well. But both of them are just as bad. The good thing is, not everything was bad during this period though. We did have some interesting innovations.
Madagascan President Andry Rajoelina has officially launched a medicine he believes can prevent and cure patients suffering from COVID-19.
We have indeed introduced this remedy, which contains Malagasy medicinal plants. This is something that we are used to in Madagascar. 80% of the population uses herbal remedies. This being said, COVID Organics is, needless to say, a preventive and curative remedy against COVID-19.
Although for that particular innovation, it didn't go so well.
The herb, which is used as a tonic, contains the Artemisia plant, which is normally used to treat malaria. But the World Health Organization warns that the effectiveness of the herb has not been proven or even tested by scientists.
Thanks, WHO, for busting the Madagascan bubble. To be honest, I'd rather have taken that herbal drink to any injection for the vaccine. I really hate needles. But that wasn't the only invention.
This is the laboratory that developed test kits and understood the transmission of both Zika and Ebola years before the viruses became global problems. They say sharing their knowledge, research and expertise is essential when it comes to preventing the spread of coronavirus.
This is a Tippy Tub. Cool, right? Press your foot on a plank to wash your dirty hands when you come back from the shop. A handy soap on a rope will get rid of the virus as long as you soap up properly for 20 seconds. Then press the plank again to rinse, and you don't have to worry about cleaning any tap handles.
It's the Tippy Tub. Granted, it wasn't invented during the corona period, but it did gain popularity during this period. And we should be proud as Africans for how we dealt with this coronavirus.
We're very encouraged with how African countries are handling the COVID-19 pandemic as we see the continent's epidemic curve actually flattening. Indeed, as you said, a decline in the weekly number of new cases has been noticed since around the 20th of July. And during the last 4 weeks, the number of new cases has decreased by about 40% overall in the region compared to the previous 10 weeks. And this we have noted, especially in some of the countries that had been relatively seriously affected. South Africa, of course, which had at some point 50% of the cases, and countries like Ghana, Kenya, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal.
For decades, there's been a fear of Africa infecting the rest of the world with disease. But this institute says now it's the other way around, with most cases of coronavirus being imported from other countries. It states this is the time the world can learn from Africa when it comes to halting the spread of epidemic viruses like COVID-19.
When it comes to the coronavirus, there's a lot we can talk about. The struggle between COVID and the economy, the lack of PPEs, the lack of facilities, the way the medical staff are being treated, the schools closing, then reopening. The list can go on and on and on and on. You get the point. But the one thing we can never forget are our frontline fighters. To our doctors and our nurses, we salute you.
I'm always willing to get on the front line to fight any deadly disease. I'm always prepared. I have my experience from the Ebola, and I can go with the same experience with the COVID-19.
Well, the The one thing that has made the coronavirus worse is the fact that we were in an electoral period. Many countries were holding their elections, and you know how we as Africans do our elections. I'm not saying it's great, I'm just saying it happens. We first began with the campaigns. I mean, what is social distancing? Then we had the pre-election violence incidents in some countries, of course. Then the voting took place. Then the presidential swearing-in ceremony happened for some. Others are still waiting their turn. Then there were some celebrations for some people, while others were just very, very frustrated.
I am speaking to the Election Commission. Alpha Condé has been in power since 2010, instead of Diallo. We, all of Guinea, chose the Union of Democratic Forces of Guinea. That's what Guinea wants.
And this begs the question, can we do our elections better? Of course. In fact, I'm shocked that not more people were infected with the coronavirus during this period. Anyway, let's end it on a high note with a home workout video, courtesy of the Ugandan president, Yoweri Museveni. We start today's workout with a little jogging. This will get your heart pumping and will keep your legs in shape. Of course, it helps if you have a big office like the state office. On to the push-up. This exercise will work on your chest and your arms. So remember to keep your form and keep your core tight. Mr. President, keep your form. That's it for today's workout. Apparently 2 workouts are enough. I hope that will help you keep fit in 2021. My name is Cynthia McKenna. This is Africa. See you next year. Same time, same day on This Is the Day. If Museveni can do push-ups, even me I can. Ebu count for me.